Usually my voice carries pretty well, but so I don't have to yell at you for 45 minutes or whatever. I'll use the mic. Welcome. My name is Chris Wolford. I'm the head coach at Nutria Aquatics, and I've been here. This is this will be the middle of my third year here. So a little bit about my background. I was the head coach of a team in Toledo, Ohio for about 4 years, and then I was head coach for a club in Cincinnati for 17 years. And then I left that position to take over as the performance director for the state of South Carolina, where basically I advised all the teams in South Carolina, training things and things like that. Wanted to get back on the pool deck and do some direct coaching versus just advising, and so was fortunate enough to land here and have been here for the last 2.5 years. So it's been a great opportunity. I think we've done a lot of great things. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the program as a whole, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. I will cover kind of the things that I want to cover and just make sure that everything's everything's been said that we need to cover in general information, and then really just open it up to questions, because I do truly want to know what are some things that we haven't communicated well enough that we need to explain, those sorts of things. So a lot of this will be a question and answer period. Just to give you a little bit of background on the club, we're divided into really 3 separate parts of the club. We have our competitive swimming part, which is what all you guys are involved in. We have a water polo section where we have a very competitive water polo program, and then we have a swim lesson program, which is fairly new to us but growing exponentially. So between those 3 units, we teach and or coach over 800 kids. So we divide things up in those different units, but all total we have about a little over 800 swimmers that we work with each day. So ends up being quite an undertaking. To be able to do that, we work out of 5 different pools in the winter, 7 different pools in the spring and summer. And so you guys will see that a lot of times, because all of those pools that we work out have varying levels of availability. And so when the high school swimming's on, we have a little bit less time because the high schools are using the pool time. When water polo season for the high school starts in the spring, that will change our pool time around. So sometimes I will start out by just kind of giving everyone fair warning. Our schedules change a little bit here and there. And we don't necessarily have a schedule where you're going to be there every day at 4:30 or every day at 6. We have to kind of shuffle around a little bit to make sure we're matching our numbers with our pool time that we have. So like I said, sometimes it seems to be, it may be hard to get in a rhythm, but it is something we try to communicate. It is a matrix in and of itself to make sure that we have all the pool time that we need for all the programming that we do. So, but if you ever have any questions, make sure that you double check. Usually our website is almost always correct. Very few, like I said, unless it's a typo or anything like that, but it's updated on a very regular basis. So if you go to our website and look at the schedule, any other questions or any other changes will go out usually in a text or our WhatsApp. So if you don't have our WhatsApp contact, please make sure that you reach out to your coaches and get signed up for WhatsApp, because that's a lot of what we do. Swimming is a little bit different than, like, say, soccer or football or baseball, in that we've got this pool that is a little bit more involved maintaining and things like that. So it's we don't necessarily get rained out, but if a pipe breaks, that's catastrophic for us. And so or someone puts too much chlorine or not enough chlorine, or you name it. Over the course of a season, we will have pools go down, and we will let everybody know as quickly as we can that there's been a change to the schedule. So along those lines, when you do have an issue or you do have a question, my first thing is to contact your group coach, and that person should have all the specific answers. If they don't have the answers, they will send you to the right person. If you don't feel like you're getting the answer you wanted, or something resolved the way you want it to be resolved, then you can go and contact myself. If still you're not satisfied with that, you can contact our board. And so there's always a way to try to resolve any kind of issues. And our goal is to resolve any kind of issues. And so to make sure that everybody's getting as much out of this program as they can. So, and that also goes with questions. I love answering questions. I think that it's a way for me to make sure I understand maybe things that we aren't communicating as well as we could. Also a way to understand what the concerns are of all the parents and all the swimmers. So that's something that I want to make sure that everybody feels empowered to ask the question. And there's everyone says there's no dumb questions. I think there are no dumb questions only because those are things that we just haven't communicated well enough, and it gives us a cue that we need to communicate some things a little bit better. So we do have QR codes, should be around, I think on the end of every bench. That is to our webpage for Shark University, and it does have a lot of information, so I'm just highlighting the different information, but if you want to follow along with different things, you can check out the QR code. It'll take you directly to the Shark University page. You'll be fortunate, we're recording all of this, so you'll get to see me speak again if you'd like, or you can ignore it, which is probably just as good. So, but that will have a lot of information that we discuss here, but it will have a lot of things that maybe we just kind of brushed over, and it'll have a little bit more detailed. One of the areas that I do want to talk about is Safe Sport. We are a Safe Sport registered club. And all Safe Sport is a set of guidelines and rules that we follow to make sure our athletes are safe. Safe from any kind of abuse, safe from any kind of dangerous situations, those sorts of things. And there are certain rules that we apply to all of those things. And so that's why there's a lot of times that you may see us do some different things as far as having athletes in certain areas, coaches in other areas, those sorts of things. That is all to be compliant with what United States Olympic Committee and their Division of Safe Sport kind of prescribes to us. And so we do take that very seriously, and we do want to make sure that if you guys see something, that you're able to say something, and that we have the people in place that can address those issues. If you see an unsafe situation, that's something that you can report to the coaches. If you're not comfortable reporting to the coaches, we have board members that are designated as Safe Sport board members. They work with the state of Illinois and their Safe Sport program, and they work with USA Swimming, which is our governing body, with their Safe Sport people as well. So like I said, that's something that we take very seriously, and we really want to make sure we empower all of you to make sure that we're complying with all of that and making sure that we're offering a safe space for the kids when they're here with us. So that's an area we have on the Shark University website. We do have a list or a link to that, and so you can read more about that and exactly what it entails. But we are a Safe Sport registered club, and that is something that we have to do. We have to do quite a bit to fulfill those requirements to make sure that we're registered and acknowledged by USA Swimming as that. So we're going to talk a little bit later about volunteers. And so none of this operates without an army of volunteers, especially when we host meets, especially on the days of meets. We do ask our parents if their kids are swimming to be willing to volunteer. Some of it can be as involved, and we provide any kind of training with being behind the computer, that takes in all the times and processes, 1st through 16th, 1st through 70th, whatever the case may be, all the way to being a timer where you just have to know how to press stop, start, and reset, to marshals where you get to wear a cool vest and basically just make sure that everybody's heading in the right direction and not going in places that they shouldn't be. Those sorts of things. I will tell you, all of our volunteer sessions, we try to overstaff as much as we can because we want you to be able to see your kids swim. And so if I'm a marshal in a hallway, making sure no one roams around the school somewhere, we have set it up that we can arrange for when your son or daughter is getting ready to swim, you are watching them swim. So I don't want anybody to feel like I can't say if I sign up for this session or that session, I won't be able to watch my kids swim. That's something that we want to make sure. We want volunteers, okay, but we also want to make sure that you're here to watch your kids swim as well. So, so that's an important part. If you want to take that one step beyond, you can be an official. And so our officials basically are along the sides, making sure everyone has legal strokes and following the rules, those sorts of things. There's a little bit of training involved. There are apprentice sessions and things like that, but all of those count as a volunteer session. We will talk a little bit later. We do have a volunteer policy, and obviously we ask everyone to volunteer to make it fair. We do have consequences or fines or things like that for people who don't volunteer. I want to be clear, we don't want your money. We want people to be there. Basically what we want is make sure it's fair for everyone, so that if someone's coming in and volunteering 2 or 3 sessions, that everyone's coming in volunteering 2 or 3 sessions. So that's kind of the reason behind that. The last thing that I want to talk about, I'm just going to give kind of a brief overview of our program and what we do and how we do it. Most of you guys have seen we start out with bronze, silver, and gold, and then we move into our senior programs, which are mostly our high school and upper level junior high kids. But our bronze program is basically a purely an instructional group. We're working on building skills, building a skill base. You're never going to hear me talking about our bronze group getting in shape, or anything like that. You're never going to hear them talk about, their aerobic abilities or anything like that. This is purely about trying to become as efficient as we can through the water, making it as easy as we can for them to make it from one side to the other. And so that's really bronze 1 and 2. We've just got them broken up into a different set of skills as they go through. We'll move on to our silver group. That's more of a transition group. The kids, if they're able to do a 50 freestyle and it looks really nice, now we're going to ask them, can you do 3 50s freestyle and still look pretty nice? Can you do 4 50s freestyle and still look pretty nice? And so there's still a large technical component to that. And there's a lot of instruction, but we're also adding a little bit more of, what they might see in a meet. We're going to ask them, those kids will be introduced to going a 200 freestyle, which is 8 lengths of the pool during a race. Those sorts of things we'll add up, and we'll try to prepare them as much as we can for that as well. Then we move into our gold group, and that is still, again, when I say we are transitioning to more of a training group, that does not mean that we just let our technique fly out the window or anything like that. It's still a very strong part of our program. But now we're talking about really getting kids to be able to race and be faster, those sorts of things. And so you're going to see maybe, if someone in silver is going 850s, you might see someone in gold going 10 100s. So it's a little bit more. We're starting to consider aerobic abilities and getting their aerobic capacities up and those sorts of things as we're in the gold group. And then we move into our senior groups, and that is, like I said, it's the majority upper level junior high kids, mostly high school kids. Then we're really training for their events. We're really looking at This person wants to, compete at a national level, wants to compete at an international level, wants to go to college and swim. We're looking a little bit more at their events and what they need to do. And so this is a college prep program as we're going through. And so when I talk about, kind of transitioning away from technique, that's not necessarily the case. I think that we have different techniques that we're working on throughout their career with us. So our bronze groups, they may be working on a legal breaststroke kick, and that may be, that's their number one thing, or being able to make a whole lap of butterfly and being efficient enough to do that. Okay, as we move through, those skills get more and more refined, and so by the time you get to, say, our senior 3 group, we still have a ton of skills, but now we're talking about how long does your shoulder stay down as you pull through the stroke. Are you doing this? Or are you doing this? Which is obviously more of a fine motor skill. We're talking about how many strokes it takes you to get from one end to the other. How many underwater fly kicks are you taking? How far do you go with each kick? And so those skills never go away. They're just
the kids call this the angry dragon.
Yeah. That normally happens when I'm telling the kids what I want them to do as well. So that's become a norm here. So again, that skill acquisition is always there, and I will tell you that's, even talking to college coaches and things like that, they continue on with that. They continue on. There's a rule that you can only go 15 meters underwater. Most of our upper level kids know exactly how many butterfly kicks that is. And they refine that over the course of the year so that they come up, the little yellow mark on the lane line is 15 meters. And so they know they come up from the wall and they know exactly how many kicks it takes them to get to 15 meters. So again, we go from like really basic skills to really fine-tuning skills. And so, and this is what I tell people all the time. When you make a small change in swimming, it has huge results. And so if I change the pitch of my hand, and maybe that makes let's say a 1/10 of a second difference, just to make the math easy. Okay, I take 15 strokes per length. I take 4 lengths in 100 free. I just drop 6 seconds just by changing from here to here. And so, those things add up quite a bit as we go through. And so that's where, technique is essential for what we're doing. And so that is what we work on quite a bit. So as like I said, we add a training element to it, but our technique stuff is with us all the time. So I had one more thing, and the last thing I have is just when we're talking about our progression through the program, we have a definite program that each group feeds on the other group, and so skills that we're learning in bronze, we reinforce and we learn new skills in silver, reinforce, learn new skills in gold, reinforce, learn new skills in senior. That is not a straight line. And so I want to make sure that everybody's kind of aware that sometimes someone's going to get stuck on something, and they're going to get stuck in a group for an extra season until they learn some extra skills or are able to master one skill. Like I said, it's never a straight line. So I want to make sure that all of our parents are patient, all of our athletes are patient, and understand that process is just that. It's a process, and it'll be up and down. The same go with their times. I will tell you, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to tell you standing here right now what a good 10 and under 50 freestyle time is, or a good 8 and under 25 yard time is, only because it has so little to do with what they're doing later on when they come through. When I watch a meet and I watch our younger kids, I watch what their strokes look like. I watch how many strokes it takes them to get to the other end. I watch, where their head is, how their body position is, because that's a much better gauge on how they're going to go. Okay, and again, those who have or have had 10 and under kids in general know that they are the most unpredictable people on the planet. And so to base their success and failures on a time is doomed to fail, because again, they could have been thinking about something else. I had someone who struggled for two seasons and didn't realize that they just didn't know they had to sprint. They were just like, "Oh, this is fast." I was like, "Yes, this is fast." And we just thought they were struggling, but they were just like, "No, I just thought I had to finish." And so they were 100%. So when they swam, but those sorts of things, just make sure you understand that you're going to have some huge successes and you're going to have some setbacks. And honestly, that's not swimming; that's sports in general. And so I always encourage people to be patient, to communicate. If there is an issue or there's some frustration, reach out to your child's coach. Okay, reach out to your child's coach. Allow them to kind of give you an idea of where they're at and what they're doing, because again, this is the key to us working together. This is one of the things that I want to make sure everybody understands. This is a partnership between the athletes, the parents, and the coaches. And if there is, I want to make sure the parents have a role in everything. Okay, the athlete has a role, the coaches have a role, and some of those need to be defined. So as a parent, I don't want you coaching their flip turns or telling them how many kicks off the wall. That's the coach's job. Okay. But when an athlete is struggling, I want you guys to, mentally struggling, physically struggling, motivationally struggling, that's the time for you to step in and reach out and talk to the coach, and we can do that. We can work with that and make sure that we're working in the best interest of the kids. So that's all I have right now. Is there any questions? Like I said, this is a chance to ask. Yes. Okay.
One of the things I love about New Trier is how it really seems like it's on the upswing. It just seems like we're getting better and better. I was hoping you could brag a little bit about the improvements that the club has made just in the last few years. It's been really great.
Sure. I love that question. We have we've made quite a bit of progress over the last couple of years. I think in all areas. When I arrived 2 Aprils ago, we had finished 21st in the state at our age group championship. This last year, our boys were state champions, and our boys and girls combined were 4th. And so we moved up every year and got to where now we are a state contender in every season, that hopefully moving forward. So on the competitive side of things, we've drastically improved. Thanks to all of you, and hopefully the program, we've gone from last year at this time we had 320 competitive swimmers. Right now we're at 400. So thank you to the Olympics, thank you to our lesson program, thank you to a lot of different areas. But that's also meant that we're sprinting to catch up a little bit right now. So we're adding coaches. We've added a few coaches, getting them certified. We are working on getting our athletes, our senior athletes, high school athletes, opportunities to work with the younger kids as well. So all of those things are happening as we move forward. The other side of things, water polo, and I will let AK brag a little bit about water polo, but our water polo team has been a national contender for the last few years, as it goes out and competes in California every year at our junior nationals, does a great job. They actually compete internationally as well, and so they've gone to Europe a few times to compete and train with the teams there. So we basically are the best. We're the best water polo team in the Midwest, and and I would say outside of California, and maybe the East Coast. Would that be fair?
I'll talk about it. I didn't talk about it.
Yeah. Lastly, our lesson program. We started last year about this time with lessons. We had about 50 to 60 kids in our lesson program. Right now we're at 360 kids in our lesson program. And so that has been a great avenue for us. And I think those who have been in our lesson program with Misty know she does a great job and all of that. But what that has really done for us as well is a lot of times in the past we've had tryouts, and if you couldn't do all the things that we needed in that bronze group, like swim a lap of freestyle with breathing, swim backstroke, and have those skills, we had to turn you away. But now with our lesson program, we don't have to turn anyone away. We're able to, and our lesson program is designed to allow you to learn all the skills to be on the team. And so that has been like I said, a huge help to us. It's been a huge help to us even competitively, in that swimmers are entering the team with the basic skills that we wanted them to learn all along. And so now our bronze groups are able to start at kind of a different level than what they'd started with in the past, because we don't have as wide a talent level or skill level when people are entering the program. So overall, again, a lot of successes that we're really proud of, and we're competing more and more. I think, again, 2 years ago on a national level at our junior national championships, we took 2 swimmers in individual events, and then 2 relay swimmers. This last year we took 11, and all individual swimmers. So we're able to, like I said, even at the national level, as our swimmers come up through the program, they're learning more skills, and so they're starting at a higher level, and now we're competing a little bit more at a national level as well. So thank you. Mm-hmm.
Can the swimmers move through the levels over the course of the season, or do they stay in one?
Typically, we don't. If we feel like we're holding someone back, then we would move someone. But typically, if someone's doing a good job and swimming very well, it's probably because of what they're doing in practice, and so I don't necessarily want to eliminate that. I will say, in general, we tend to be fairly conservative when we place the kids, because I think one of the things, we want to make sure the kids feel successful. And like I said, we're not trying to hold anyone back, but putting someone in a group where they struggle and kind of are going last and just kind of there putting in laps doesn't necessarily help them in the long term. And so a lot of times, if you look, if someone's on a borderline and we're not really sure what group they should be in, we will usually choose the lower group, only because we want them to have that chance to be a lane leader, to be kind of engaged in the workout, be someone who's on top of everything that's going on versus someone who's just trying to survive. And so that's one of the things as we go. But in general, we tend to wait until the end of the season, like I said, unless there's just a clear, just a clear situation where we don't feel like we're giving them what they need. Yes?
Can you speak a little bit about the private coaching that's been offered a couple times, and just give some more information about that?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about our private lessons, to be perfectly honest. Not that I think they're great, but I also want to make sure people know that we are, our goal is to teach the kids every skill that they need to know in swimming during our normal practices. And so it really is, the private lessons, I think that are great. I've taught a lot of private lessons over the course of the last 2 years. But I want them to be, if you really feel like there's a skill that your son or daughter is just not getting and maybe struggling with and maybe needs some one-on-one, then that's a perfect avenue. But I don't want you to feel like, again, and I've had people in the past, say things like, well, we want to do private lessons because we want to make sure that we're in good with this coach, or we want to make sure that we get, this attention. I encourage you to demand the attention during practice, and have your son or daughter ask questions and say, I have athletes all the time saying, Coach Chris, can you look at my freestyle? Coach Chris, can you, look at my kick, because I have some concerns about it. And so, like I said, I'm all for the quality of our private lessons, but I never want anybody to feel like the only way they're going to learn certain things is if they do private lessons.
I really like the dry land program. especially how it's offered to younger swimmers as well. Could you talk a little bit about the dryland program?
Yeah, our dryland program is designed and monitored by Achieve Athletics, which is a local, basically personal training group. They work a lot with swimmers and a lot of teams in the area. They have a good background in swimming, so they've designed our dryland program around a lot of the things that we need to develop as athletes. And so it's less about being strong, arms and legs. It's a lot about being strong in the core, in the midsection, a lot of pushing and pulling, a lot of strength in hips. And so we do a lot of squats and a lot of abdominal work and things like that. Because again, and you have to forgive me, I go off on tangents because I love this stuff. But part of that is because in swimming, if our dryland program is based around the concept that in swimming, it's really the only sport that you don't have anything solid to push off of. So every other sport, if I'm playing baseball, I'm pushing off the ground to move. Football, I'm pushing off the ground. Soccer, you name it. I've got this solid base to push off of. Swimming, we don't have that. Okay, we just have the water. So our base becomes our core strength and becomes our kind of our midsection, and everything operates around that. So our dryland program's built around that. With our younger kids, it's also built around coordination and being able to coordinate moves so that later on, when we are actually doing weightlifting and things like that, they have the coordination to be able to kind of pull all that stuff off and be not only efficient but be safe at it as well. So, I will say I think we have all of our coaches have a pretty good background in dryland, but being able to turn this over to Achieve, what they do is they prescribe the workouts for us, and we give them feedback each month about what worked, what didn't work, what we'd like to see more of, and then they prescribe the workouts and the exercises for them. As they get into our upper groups and our senior groups, all of our kids have an app on their phone that not only tells you what exercises, but they record what weight they did and that sort of thing. And so then the app then prescribes what the weight, the weight of their next exercises are going to be later on in the week, and takes all that information and makes it a progressive program so that we don't have kids, lifting 100 pounds one week and 200 pounds the next week or anything like that. It's very progressive, and it's prescribed by Achieve for us.
Thank you to all the coaches.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you ever share anything with the athletes around guidance or guidelines about what they can do during meets and all the time that they're waiting. It's so wonderful about them that they can watch one another. I observe a ton of electronics, and I wonder, sometimes I wish they were playing games or doing other things. I'm curious how you talk with your athletes about opportunities to stay focused and what they can do in all that downtime.
Right. I'm going to make a general statement and qualify it by saying that we have varied levels of success in this when we do this, but we do try to make sure that our athletes understand the process. And so when they're younger, to be perfectly honest, I want them to be able to just go out and have fun and not necessarily think too much about the race, because a lot of that thought ends up being kind of a pressure on themselves and things like that. So I want them to go out and just race because it's fun. But as they grow through our program, we do have prescribed things that we're asking them to do all the way. Our final in our final groups, we have exactly what they need to do before a race to warm up. We have prescribed what they should be eating and that sort of thing. And so in general, what I tell all of our athletes, and this is something that even in our gold groups we talk about it a bit, is that your race starts 20 minutes before you ever get up on the blocks. And so that 20 minutes before you get on the blocks is spent talking, thinking about what do you want to accomplish? What are the things that are important? What are the things the coaches have told you that you need to work on, and those sorts of things. And so And then for our older kids, that's warming up beforehand, getting themselves loose. You know, if there's a warm-up, warm-down pool, they usually get in and swim 500-600 yards before that. All of our kids, you know, probably the main thing that we need help from parents on is we want to make sure the kids come and speak to their coach before and after a race. And that's usually, like I said, when I say varied levels of success with that, you know, we have, you know, a lot of athletes, you know, that's our last chance to give them one or two things that they want to work on. And then after they swim, that gives us a chance to kind of evaluate those one or two things. And so, you know, I talked a little bit earlier about not really judging times as much. And one of the reasons is that I want to make sure that they're doing things correctly. And so a lot of times when we judge the athletes, we're judging them based on the one or two things that we told them before the race. And so just as an example, I want to, you know, again, a younger swimmer swimming the 200 free for the first time. You know, I don't care how fast it is, but I want all your turns to be flip turns. You know how to do a flip turn. A lot of times, you know, people do 2 or 3 flip turns and this is tiring. And so they'll just go to, you know, touching the wall and going. And so, you know, one of the things I want all 7 flip turns. I want to do these sorts of things. And these are the 3 things. And then when they come back to us after the race, we're really just evaluating those 3 things. I think you're rarely going to have someone, you know, come back and just say, oh my goodness, you added 2 seconds, this was horrible. You know, the only time you're really going to get that is I asked you to do these 3 things and you didn't do any of them. And so this is what, you know, this is what we need to come back and do, and we need to do a better job of working on those 3 things. So, so again, that's probably the main thing, is making sure, especially even at the youngest levels, that they're coming and talking to the coach before and after the races. Yes?
Bit of a novice question, but how do kids, is it 2 separate tracks, water polo and swim? I'm just thinking, in high school, I think it's different seasons. If you're not necessarily at the national level or pre-collegiate, a lot of kids might play both, and I don't know how you get exposed before high school.
Well, they can be kind of simultaneous. The issue that we have as far as having people do both is most of the times our practices overlap with each other because we only have pool time from basically 5:30 to 8 at all of our sites. And so if water polo might be over here on one day, your swim group might be at a different location at the same time. So that's really the only thing that holds us back. However, water polo does a lot of their training on Saturdays and Sundays, and so a lot of times that is an added opportunity if kids want to come in and play water polo. So so you can definitely do both, and if you are doing both, you know, there are discounts for, you know, you're not paying double, you know, for water polo and swimming and that sort of thing. That we've got some fee things that make that worthwhile. But I will say that it isn't hard to do both. It's just, you know, again, it's an added scheduling thing. So.
Are those 2 things actually controvert each other? Because swimming, it's going. Water polo and stop and go. And swimming, the head is in the water, and polo head is above the water.
Right. Well, I think that. Yeah.
So there are too many examples of dual athletes in the NCAA level that they can cope both. For example, on the 1996 U.S. Olympic team, there was a swimmer and water polo player that he did on the same time at the Olympics, playing water polo with the national team, with the U.S. national team, and he was also part of the 4x100 relay for the freestyle. So the talent, the athletic talent is the same, right? You just have to balance between the 2 sports and benefit from both of the sports. Actually, there are some college coaches that they encourage their swimmers to do off-season another sport, and why not playing water polo?
Yeah. So there are a ton of examples of people doing both and being able to kind of choose. However, again, it's like any other sport. I think as you get older, you know, you may want to choose to specialize in one thing or the other. in order to be good. You can be good, and a lot of those are specific athletes that are pretty darn talented in almost everything they do. But again, I think that they're, with anything, we have a lot of our young swimmers are playing soccer and doing other sports. And then as they get older, again, depending on how far you want to go in a particular sport, you're going to need to dedicate a little bit more time to that. Yes?
What is flashball, and is that offered all year or just certain times of the year?
It's certain times of the year. Do you want to?
So splash ball.
This is AK, by the way.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna stand up later. So splash ball is the entry-level program that USA Water Polo created for really young athletes to introduce to the sport, right? So it's more of a playtime than an actual practice. We introduced the program over the summer season. We have access to one really nice club, the Old Willow Country Club. It's an outdoor pool.
Mm-hmm.
So we are inviting our current athletes to join at that program with a friend of theirs. There is a specific age group that we're targeting, so they have to be 12 and under. And we're not doing only water polo, so it's more of a fun time all together with our friends. And at the end of the session, we also play water polo.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna try to keep it all year around, but that depends on our access to the Loyola pool every Sunday.
Right.
So we're gonna keep you posted with whatever change comes.
Yep. And we'll have any changes or any updates will come in our newsletter. So, and that's, if you're not getting a newsletter from us, shoot me or Coach Jeremy an email, just letting us know that you're not receiving the newsletter. Some of it may be going to spam. It's a constant contact that we use for our team email, our team newsletter. But that has all of any kind of changes in programming and things like that will be in there as well. Yes?
How many meets does the team host annually?
Host?
Yeah.
We host probably, 6 meets maybe? Well, for the one day meets.
I mean, two invites and probably 4 or 5 inter-squad meets.
Yeah, so we have 2 invitationals, and just the difference, the invitational is really a lot of teams coming together. It's usually a multi-day meet, usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we host 2 of those. One of them's next week, and then we host another one in January. And then we also have a number of small inter-squad meets or a little bit smaller meets that are just one day, usually on a Saturday afternoon, gives everybody a chance to swim some extra events and things like that. Those are usually fairly short and really just kind of serve giving our kids a little bit extra opportunities to swim and do some events that they may not normally get to swim. So.
Don't answer it now
Mhm.
because I don't want to waste everyone's time, but I would like to know the role, the duties of each of the volunteering options for parents during meets.
We're going to talk about that when we talk about volunteers here in a little bit. So, but there's a ton of different avenues that you can volunteer. So, varying depending on what you're comfortable with, to be perfectly honest.
And final question.
Mm-hmm.
Days off do we have on holidays? Around the holidays?
Days off. Oh.
On practice?
Yeah, we basically kind of follow the general school holiday routine. Basically, a lot of times when the school is on holiday, whether it be, Easter, Christmas, those sorts of things, the pool's closed to us anyway. So most of our schedule will revolve around what the school schedule is, and so for the most part, most of the major holidays, we do not have practice.
I think this question is kind of twofold.
Mhm.
If a swimmer is in lessons
Mm-hmm.
and that swimmer makes it through level 10,
Mm-hmm.
does the swimmer then have to try out for the team?
No.
Or it's an automatic entry?
Right.
Okay, and if the swimmer is older,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like the bronze group is kind of the youngest of
Right.
the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Is the swimmer automatically placed in bronze?
No.
Or
No, the question is about lessons program. If someone goes through our lessons program and is when would they be invited on the team? Do they need to try out? Those sorts of things. And if they are older when they're going through lessons, are they placed in the bronze groups with our younger 10 and unders and things like that? The answer to that is our kids going through our swim lesson program, basically once they get through level 7, they are typically invited to be on the team if they so choose. It's not mandatory or anything like that. We do have some limitations. We have a couple groups that are full, and so they'll need to, there's only a couple groups that they would be able to sign up for. If they're older, most of our kids that have the skills but maybe are not quite ready for swim team, we have our Silver 1 group, which is really 11 to 14-year-olds that basically gets them ready for team activities. And so what I mean by that is someone can go through lessons and learn all 4 strokes and be very proficient at all 4 strokes, learn flip turns, starts, all of that good stuff. But they may not be ready to just jump in and go a 200 freestyle, which is a warm-up for some of these groups. So they may not be ready to go 1050s freestyle on a minute. And that Silver 1 group is that next step to get them ready for that phase of being on a swim team. And so that's our Silver 1 group was set up for that purpose. Yes?
So, how many meets do you recommend for the beginning swimmer? And how, because when we have like limits to register, and we don't know exactly how the levels will change. How can we decide it already to the
Okay. The question is, how many meets do we recommend, and how do we know what meets are recommended, and also how to sign up for the meets. And basically, the meets we want you to compete at your own pace, and so we typically offer about 2 meets per month, and most of them are local. Some of them are a little bit of a hike if you talk about St. Charles and some different things like that, but most of them are fairly close. And when you sign up for a meet, if it's a 3-day meet, you can pick and choose what day you want to be there. And so you don't feel like you're locked into 3 days, that you have to go to all 3 days. Typically, our Friday night session is more distance types of events. Then Saturday and Sunday is usually just split, some backstroke and freestyle, basically a little bit of each stroke on each day. So if you get in a situation where, hey, I've got something planned for Saturday, I can only go Sunday, you just need to sign up for that day. Or there's a little notes section when you sign up. You can put a little note in there just saying this is what you signed up for, what you want. Now, along those lines, I think part of the question was, how do you choose what events your child's ready to swim? The coaches choose the events. In that little notes section, if you have something specific that maybe you want to see, or maybe your son or daughter has asked, I never swim fly in a meet, I'd really like to swim it. Those sorts of things, the coaches will take into account. Like I said, I'm all about communication. Just understand sometimes the answer might be no, but at the same time, the coaches choose those events because there are certain things that we want to make sure that the kids have a breadth of experience. And so if in practice, their breaststroke kick is legal-ish, and we've been working on it and we're trying to figure out how to do it, we may put them in that event in a meet, just saying, hey, this is something we want to see, and maybe they pull it together when they go fast. Or we at least want to give them, sometimes it's a motivation because our meet entries are due 3 weeks before the actual meet. That gives them 3 weeks to say, oh my goodness, I'm swimming breaststroke in a meet in 3 weeks. I should probably pull this together. So the coaches will typically choose what events the kids are swimming, and make sure that they have kind of a wide range of events. I started doing that as a coach many years ago, because honestly, at the end of the day, I had kids going through our program who had never swam the 400 IM because they were afraid of it, and they just never signed up for it. And I had, I would come to a meet and I'd have 25 kids swimming the 50 free and 1 kid swimming the 100 fly. And so again, this is a way for us to continue to coach and make sure that the kids are getting experiences in a little bit of everything. So the coaches typically will choose the events. I've had parents in the past at all levels kind of put in the notes, we want them to swim 50 fly, 50 back, 50 breast, 50 free, and we want them to swim 100 free, 100, 200 free, whatever. That's all well and good, and I do look at it, but if I disagree, just understand I have veto power over that, and if there's a specific event that I want to make sure that they swim, then that's what they'll end up swimming. So yeah.
I understood just like lately, last couple of years, because I didn't pay attention honestly before. There is a sessions when we sign in for the meet. There is a sessions which one we're willing to go, and I think that's where you actually trying to take in a review. If I didn't mark Friday night go for the long distance swim, my child would not be scheduled there.
Right.
So
Right.
if I didn't mark it and my child does want to swim on a Friday night, that would be me holding him back.
Yeah, and I think that when we're going to talk about this when we kind of break out at the end, but most of our meets allows you to choose what session you're going to swim in, and sometimes that's confusing because a morning session might be 9 and 10-year-olds and 11 and 12-year-olds, and then the afternoon session is 13 and older. And so we've had some people just this year, and again, 100% honest mistake, sign their 10-year-old up for 13 and over session and saying, well, I wanted to go in the afternoon, not necessarily in the morning, and not really understanding the difference in the events. And so that's, the easier way to do that is also then if you have something very specific is to put it in the notes. Like I said, the coaches read that. There's just a little note box that you can just even say, Saturday only, Sunday only, Friday only. I will make a pitch for Friday night sessions. If your children are ready for it, that is typically the long distance events. And so what typically happens is people who don't want to swim the long distance events just don't sign up for Friday. And so they get out of the long distance events. I do encourage everyone to at least try those events when they're ready and make themselves available on that Friday night. Because again, it does go back to having our athletes develop. And for better or for worse, some athletes end up being better distance swimmers, even though they would rather be a sprinter. But that's where they physically thrive, and we want to make sure that they have those opportunities to find that out. And so a lot of times, again, if there are longer distance events and you think the kids are willing to try it, go ahead and do that. But you can only avoid it for so long because we'll catch on.
Actually, about that, for us, I didn't know that was Friday is only for long distance. So I actually signed my swimmer up. I don't know. How do you know they are ready or like
I think that's up to the coaches. I think that we did have a few of those that where a coach said, "Oh wow, so and so signed up for Friday night and the 200 frees on that night," and they were like, "I think they're ready to at least try it." And so if it was one of those things, and we've had athletes where they've signed up for the 100 fly and the coach knows, they have a hard time finishing the first lap. They'll typically reach out to the parent and just say, hey, that's not, we're gonna hold off on that for a couple weeks or a couple months until they're ready. So if they are in that event, the coach probably felt like they can do it. So yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to belabor this, but so all we have to do is just sign the kid up for the meet and specify the day, and then you guys will do everything.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So we don't need to do any of the sessioning or any of
Right.
that.
Right.
Saturday and Friday.
Yeah, just let us know what the day that you're available. And again, and I will say, to varying levels of success, if you're telling us that, hey, I've got a soccer game in the morning, we will be there, but we may not be there until a little bit late. We will probably do the best we can to enter you in later events and things like that, but understand we just don't have a lot of control over that. And so, again, if I have to leave early or whatever the case may be, again, it helps us to know that, but just understand there's, we don't control the timeline of the meet or anything like that. And so it's going to be, we will do the best we can with that. Any other questions? Awesome. Oh, wait, yep.
Club did last couple years. Club did great job on the social events for kids.
Mhm.
Are we looking to continue that? Because
Yes.
it's so big, and kids just they kind of spiking together
Mm-hmm.
going through those events.
Yep. Yeah, we will always plan some social events. I believe the bronze group already had an ice cream social and had a big crowd there with an ice cream truck and everything else. So that was awesome. We will continue to do that with parent liaisons. We will be reaching out and asking parents if they want to kind of spearhead some of this for each group. A lot of times we'll combine all the gold groups, we'll do something together, all the silver groups will do something together. But we usually try to get something together a couple times a season to make sure that the kids are doing something maybe away from the pool that they can have fun with and do something else. So.
Thank you for everyone who organizing that.
Oh, yes. No, again, we had great volunteers this year organizing a lot of events and making a lot of things happen. And so I will admit that is my weakest suit. Doing fun things is not necessarily my thing. So again, it was good to have parents that kind of lined up to do all of that. Okay. I'm going to turn everything over to Coach AK, who is going to, sorry. First, I'm going to turn everything over to Lee Sears, who's our board president.
I just want to make sure to introduce myself. Lee Sears, you'll see emails coming in from me. Higher.
Oh,
Hello?
there we go.
Closer to my mouth. Okay, thank you. My name is Lee Sears, and I'm the president of the parent board for NutriAquatics. We are a nonprofit 501c3, so we work with a very dedicated group of parents that are on our board. We get to work very closely with our amazing, highly skilled, talented coaches, and we are thrilled about all of the success and the progress that the club is making. As Chris said, over 800 athletes that work with our club right now, and we do our best to try and stay ahead of the questions, but inevitably there will be things that you will have a question about, and we just want to make sure you are comfortable turning to the board. In addition to the coaches, you'll see several people in the group today that have NutriAquatics shirts on. Feel free to stop and ask any of us individually any question that you may have. A lot of us have been around for a long time, but we sat where you were for the new families, and sometimes it's easy to forget the questions that you may have in the beginning. So please use us as a resource. We're so excited I see so many faces that I recognize, but also the new families. We look forward to welcoming you all. We try and sit together in the stands, but again, just know that we try and make this a team that feels like a family, and we certainly want to answer any and all questions that you have. So I'll give it back to Chris and AK.
Oh,
Yep.
will you have all the coaches introduce themselves too?
Yes.
Because I know sometimes you get emails.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Sorry, one more. We'll have all the coaches introduce themselves. And just understand also that we are a little bit short-staffed today because we do have a group of coaches that are in Philadelphia at a coaches clinic. Again, just another side of what we do. Most of the coaches will spend time doing continuing education as they go through. So they're actually in Philadelphia with a number of Olympic coaches and things like that, basically, evaluating all the things that are going on in our sport right now. So like I said, we have a few less coaches than we normally have, but we'll have the coaches go around and introduce themselves.
Hello, I am Coach James Helm. I am actually the longest tenured member of the staff here. That's amazing. Yeah, a lot of new faces. This is a really, really great sight to see. A little bit about me. I am the Senior 1 coach. I have coached, so basically, I've coached a lot of kids that used to be, like I coached Lee Sears kids, I coached Wolford kids, and they have spread it into very large children. But I have coached, let me see, I've coached a bunch of groups that don't exist anymore. Amazing. But basically, I've coached 5th and 6th graders, and I've kind of moved my way up in elementary school. So there you go. Coach Jen.
Hello, I'm Jen Wolford. I'm our Gold 1 coach. Been here for 2 years now. This is the start of my 3rd season, or my 3rd year. Gold 1's been great. It's getting better every single season. We've been really enjoying ourselves and figuring things out. So, thank you.
I'm Jeremy Meserol. Several of you have probably gotten an email or two from me. I coach our senior 2 kids primarily, but also do a lot of back-end administrative stuff. I coached here for a little bit between 2008 and 2012, and then started back here in 2022. And that's about it.
Oh, that's you.
Hi, I'm Coach Joe Jeffers. I can't really stand up right now because I'm stuck here, but I'm wearing the yellow hat down in front. A lot of your kids have taken to calling me the man in the yellow hat. They think I look like a Curious George guy. Right now I'm running Gold 2 and Silver 3, so your kids in those groups, that's who they're seeing me basically every day. But I'm also just kind of on deck all the time, so you might see me every once in a while floating around and helping out some of your groups. I also help run our social media accounts. We're going to be worrying up some of our video content again over the next few weeks, so you'll also probably see a lot of me on there too. This is my 2nd year now back with NTA, but I actually swam for the club back when it was still Nutria Swim Club. Me and I think Coach Max are the only current members of the staff who ever swam for Nutria Swim Club back in the day. But anyway, yeah, hi. Come say hi.
All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about water polo. So Coach AK, who is our one of our water polo directors and has an extensive background in polo, and I will ask him to brag a little bit about himself as well.
Hello everyone. As you can pick up from my Borat accent, I'm from Greece. My full name is all Greek to everyone every time. Is Apostolos Karagiannis. That's why I go with Coach AK. I used to play professionally in Greece in the professional league.
I wish we could hear, but we have to go to a soccer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I was also a swimmer until I was 16 years old.